that guy just, he never gets it right. It's like, all right, we're just going to stop. Is it him, or is it the way that we're feeding him the information? Is it their feeling? Does he feel like he's not trusted? Does he feel like, are our expectations not clear? And that's a big part, isn't it, when you're dealing with conflict? It's like, all right, these are the expectations that we had of you when you came into this position. This is what we're observing. Could you explain to me why you agreed to these behaviours, but you are not able to bring them forth in this environment? So you're just giving them a chance to explain why.
Lisa, that is pure gold.
Welcome to the Manage Self, Lead Others Leadership podcast with Nina Sunday for experienced and aspiring people managers. This show will help you explore ways to become a more intentional leader. Each episode, host Nina Sunday speaks with some of the brightest business minds on the planet who share a passion to elevate and transform team culture. Workplace culture hides in plain sight. Is yours flourishing? Join the movement to make your workplace a better place to work. Are you ready? Because it's time to manage self, lead others.
Lisa McInnes-Smith is in the top echelon of corporate speakers, having presented live to more than 2.5 million people across 30 countries. Lisa is the first Australian inducted into the International Speaker Hall of Fame. A TEDx Melbourne speaker, her presentation is called Winning Words, the Phrases That Pay. One of her stories gave me a big laugh, so look for it on Google. Welcome, Lisa McInnes-Smith. We're going to talk about a serious topic today, aren't we, Lisa?
Very serious.
Difficult conversations, the one that a lot of people avoid, abdicate, run away from, do poorly. And I'll tell you what, I was in the same boat as well some years ago when I had a big team. I didn't know how to do it.
Yes. Well, it's not that we don't know how sometimes, it's that we really don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to have a conflict. I mean, you ask people, do you like conflict? Most people don't like conflict. And therefore, they don't even want to have the hard conversations. But I think that we should start talking about our relationships first and have a little look at where we have hard conversations at home, because a lot of what we do in our personal life spills over into our working life. And a good trigger for everybody is specific is terrific. So the more specific the feedback is, the more action can be taken on it. The more general it is, the more people can take it as a feeling or as a, she doesn't like me, rather than, no, I like you, but there's certain habits that don't work for this business. And even that word, certain habits, because we all know habits can be little. Curiosity is always a great way, isn't it? I mean, you and I both know that the more questions we can ask with interest, with care, because really a lot of relationships could be developed and could grow if we could get past a few irritants or habits that really just don't sit well for, I'm going to say most often it's the leader of the company or the manager of the team.
Well, look, I do a survey, an anonymous survey with participants whenever I do a leading people workshop. And I remember one particular comment was, no matter how much I coach this colleague, they do the same thing over and over. It's like, they don't want to change, or it's like, what do I do now? They just ignore. They'll nod their head, but then they'll ignore and just keep doing what they used to do. So, but they're almost at the point of giving up. It's like, well, what do I do now?
So accountability becomes really important, and accountability is part of the conflict.
Right.
And I guess this is the other thing about dealing with conflict. Firstly, we have to have more than one conversation. We're going to have many. Think about when we're parenting children, we have many conversations to get not a child, a teenager, a young adult. We get lots of conversations to get them to the point where we can be adult to adult. So it's never just one conversation. And I think some of us think we're going to solve it in one conversation instead of realizing this is one of maybe 11 conversations that are going to be needed. And it's going to be progressive, and we're going to come back and we're going to measure the outcome of it. My background is building high-performing teams. So how do you get people to work together in such a way that they love the work they do, they love the people they work with, they find that they can value everybody even though they're really different to them? And what's the key to a high-performing team? Trust.
Absolutely.
And guess what? You can't trust people that you don't know. And if you don't know them and know the way they work and the way they think, then you can't work well together. So teaching people how to build trust is just an initial thing. So when my parents would correct me growing up, they were always talking about, we trust you and we want to always be able to trust you. So we're always building trust together. So trust is something you give, but then someone breaks the trust, which is usually kids. We break it, and then we have to win it back again. Well, same with employees. You give them trust. For me, I'm a business owner. I employ someone. I give them complete trust, and then they break my trust.
Right.
So then we have to have a conversation about that. When you did this, I had trusted you that you would always speak on my behalf, that your voice would be a voice for me. And when you actually say things that would maybe make me look smaller in the eyes of others, then that's probably a habit that doesn't work for us. So let's have a little look at why you did what you did. What were you thinking? Is there something that you need to say to me rather than to others? So these are really good questions. Now, notice I asked a few questions then.
Yes.
So sometimes we ask a few just to see how the other person responds.
And you called it a habit.
Yes.
That's
I didn't ever say it was the person. It's not the person. It's just something they do that they've got in a habit of, and maybe they need to get out of the habit of.
Yes.
And so think about it. I try to get people to think all the time. Let's go back to thinking about high-performing people. We all want to be our best.
Yeah.
I want to have the intention of helping you to be your best. So when I'm going to people, I'm saying, I'm coming as the coach. I'm coming because I want you to be at your best. I want the team to really like you. And so we need to address anything that makes a little hiccup in the way the team works. And it's not just about you. It's not about me. It's not a personal preference. It's about what do we think is the best way of operating. So let's say I'm going to have a conversation with someone that I already know blows up. The team knows they blow up. Then I'm more likely to, one, have that conversation out in the cafe, in a public space where people are less likely to blow up.
Right.
So they're less likely to attack you in a public space. Another option, if you know they're a blow-up type of person, is to walk and talk. So come on, let's just go walk around the park outside. I need to talk to you about something that's difficult. So when you're not looking straight at each other across the table, which can be very daunting for many people, and for the person that attacks, it's a really good thing to be walking side by side so they're not looking at one another. They can just hear it. So what I'm doing is I'm setting the conversation up to win, setting them up to win. Let's make sure that we've got an environment or an activity that helps us to have a tough conversation but doesn't make you feel foolish. Because if the person feels shamed, the work of Brené Brown, she will display with her research that people are likely to do two things. If they feel like you're shaming them, they're either going to completely retreat and run away, or they're going to attack back. Right. So you need to be aware, wait a minute, make sure that your language isn't demeaning or shaming or making the person feel small. Again, we're just talking about the habit or the behavior or the word spoken. It's not them. It's just something they do.
That's right.
So we're just separating them from what they do, which, because we all make mistakes and we all have bad habits. So sometimes I might even preempt that. We all have bad habits, but there's one right now that's driving us all crazy and we need to talk about it.
Right. Excellent. And of course, then you said that there's the person that will go out and bad mouth the boss but not in front of the boss, but to others in the team.
Yes.
What are they? They're saying, guess what that boss said to me, and they'll just find negative things to say about the boss, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So then,
but what we're doing is we're waiting to see what type of response they have. Even if that happens, we need to know now what type of response the people have back to when you have conflict. Because if they can't have these courageous conversations that mean we can address conflict, then they're not going to be a good fit for a high-performing team. Because you and I both know that high-performing teams need to have people of different opinions, and different opinions mean you have to fight for what you believe in.
Fine. And all right, so, well, what's another type of behaviour response that you've observed? There's the run away and hide. There's the blast back. There's the badmouth you. Is there another type of behaviour that is seen commonly?
Just want to take a moment to talk about one of my favourite pieces of business advice. Use OPM, other people's money. Risk their money, not yours. If you want to trade in the futures markets, you can do a course and take a test. And if you pass the test, you can use Apex Trader Funding's money, risk their money on the stock market. And if you are successful at it, they pay you commissions for doing that. To find out more, tune into episode 106 where CEO Daryl Martin explains how it works. And a link is also in the show notes, and the code to use for a reduced rate is Nina Sunday, one word. These are my partners that help make this podcast possible. So another partner is regular podcast guest Dan Silverberg, who has an ongoing leader council for CEOs, for businesses that turn over millions of dollars. Listen to episodes 127, 124, and others before it to find out more. And want to scale and grow with automated business processes? Meet Segwick, the CRM designed for complex sales, onboarding, and customer management, and all-in-one platform for transforming how you manage customer interactions. Segwick provides tools for scheduling appointments, managing client follow-ups, handling customer queries, all in one intuitive interface. And here's the good news. For a reduced fee on your subscription, contact Segwick, that's SEGWIK, using my exclusive link. It's in the show notes, but tune into episode 134 with Pete Romano, Business Automation Architect at Segwick. Visit segwick.com/Nina Sunday today. Now back to your episode.
What's another type of behaviour response that you've observed? There's the run away and hide. There's the blast back. There's the badmouth you. Is there another type of behaviour that is seen commonly?
There's the one that cries. Yeah. So some people, as soon as there's conflict, they cry. And many people, it's from their childhood. They've always cried, and their parents said, don't cry. And people accuse them of trying to be manipulative. But you know what? Some people just cry. They cry really easily. When they're upset, it just comes in the corners of their eyes. And therefore, we've got to teach people just how to talk through their tears. No problem with crying. As far as I'm concerned as a woman, I have no problem with people when the conversation's tough, have a cry. Sometimes you just feel better. You just got to let the emotion out. You've got to make it, as the person initiating the conversation, make it safe. Pass them a tissue. Take a moment. You can offer them, would you like to just go to the bathroom for a moment? How about, give you 10 minutes and come back? If the person feels embarrassed about their tears, give them space. Same with the person that's angry. If they're super angry, why don't you just take 30 minutes and come back and we'll resume this conversation? Because as soon as someone's getting really angry, they're not thinking. They're making dumb decisions now. So by you allowing them to stay in that state, all you're doing is setting them up to fail. You may as well tell them, come on, time out, 30 minutes. Wouldn't that be great if we could do that when we're growing up? Time out, I need time out.
Now, that little example I gave earlier about the manager that felt like they couldn't get anywhere with their team member, it seems to me that maybe they could invite another manager, whether a peer or someone more senior. I don't know, you wouldn't have them join the meeting with you, so it's 2 against 1, but maybe have them have their meeting, and so they can say, well, look, I've been asked by Jane here to have a conversation with you because she feels like she's mentioned things that aren't really, she can't see evidence that you're applying and changing. So, and then they can open up their own conversation. They'll just try their own way. Do you think that would be a good tactic?
Yes, but you can also have a third person in the conversation.
All right.
I don't think 2 against 1, but sometimes it's really good to have a third person, an observer, who doesn't participate.
Mm.
And when we're going to talk about something that's really tough, then it might be good to have somebody there that's witnessing it. It wouldn't really matter if it was a colleague of the person that is under pressure. It wouldn't really matter if it was someone from on their side, as long as they understand that they just need to sit and observe what's going on so that there can be a fair recollection of what's taking place. And you could have one each side.
Sorry? I missed
You
that.
could have one each side.
Oh, yeah.
I could have somebody. Yes, and they could have someone too, just sitting and listening and watching, but not participating.
Now, you'd have to describe that in a way that was not confrontational. It wouldn't be a mediation. It's acknowledging that one party, the leader, doesn't feel like there is action or progression with another, and you'd like to change the mix. I'm just thinking of how you describe it. Change the mix. You can invite someone, I'll invite someone, and they will just observe, and maybe we can find a way through. I'm just thinking this is what I would be saying. I'd be using this sort of language. Is that sounding good?
That's right. It's beautiful. And you're setting it up because what we're trying to do is build a safe space for us to talk about hard things and people making changes, but feeling supported. So it doesn't really matter if there was more in the room, as long as the person doesn't feel like she's or he is feeling like I'm under threat. That's why sometimes to have a friend come with you is a good thing.
That's right.
To say, look, just sit with them, just make them listen.
Well, of course, in industrial relations, if these people are being what is euphemistically called performance managed, which is they're actually on their way out the door, having an observer is essential. It's actually part of the process. So but there'd be a way to say, look, I just want this to be a safe space for us. Don't read more into it than just we want to come to an agreement and a resolution.
Yeah. And remember that we've got to figure out at the beginning, is this a conversation where we're really trying to get a change in behaviour and we're building the team and we're going forward and we're investing into this person?
Yes.
Very different from somebody that is performance managing them out. So, I'm always thinking from my aspect, I'm trying to build better people. I'm trying to build better teams, and I'm trying to teach leaders how to build those teams by having the conversations that need to be had without people feeling like they're being demeaned, disrespected. So we've got to watch language, and so therefore we might put some boundaries around it. I always think it's really good to turn up at a meeting with conflict with your notepad and the things that you need to say, like do your prep, don't make it casual, don't show the person you take it very seriously, that you care about what's happening. And when they say, look, these are some of my reasons, then you write them down. So let me just capture that. I want to write down what you're feeling, what you're thinking, because sometimes we're going to walk away and we're going to think about this conversation, think now, what else do we need to say? And what have we not covered? And did I not really listen? Did I have a bias? So notice the intention is
That's
really
a good
important.
self-question. Did I have a bias? Yes.
And we usually do have a bias because most of us are biased at everything.
Well, what sort of biases should someone self-reflect to see if you're operating under a false bias?
Well, particularly if you just start with, do I think men or women are better suited in this role? And you suddenly think, oh, that guy just, he never gets it right. It's like, all right, we've just got to stop. Is it him or is it the way that we're feeding him the information? Is it their feeling? Does he feel like he's not trusted? Does he feel like, are our expectations not clear? And that's a big part, isn't it, when you're dealing with conflict? It's like, all right, these are the expectations that we had of you when you came into this position. This is what we're observing. Could you explain to me why you agreed to these behaviours, but you are not able to bring them forth in this environment? So you're just giving them a chance to explain why.
Excellent, Lisa. That is pure gold. I think anybody listening to this, stop it, rewind it, and listen to what Lisa just said then. That was excellent. Now, tell me, how do you work with companies? Is this the sort of work that you do, or you're more of a platform speaker, aren't you?
Yes, I'm a platform speaker. Therefore, I would speak about all types of high-performance topics. So how do we build a high-performing team? How do we build high-performing people? And how do we lead them? So under that umbrella, there's all these facets. How do we deal with conflict? How do we build trust? How do we get rid of the dysfunctional behaviours in a team? How do we build a sense of unity and community when the company works in silos? So, sometimes I'm talking to the very senior management and they're all operating as kings in their own realm. Yes. And versus we're working with middle management who really are not gleaning all the wisdom of the other managers. They just trying to do their own little thing, but there's no safe place to go and say, actually, I've got a real problem with one of my staff. And yet the people on the same level of management are right there and available, but they just haven't connected with them in a way that they feel I can express I've got challenges.
Yes, silo busting, that's something that has to be done. That's not easy, is it? Because the minute one silo, another one appears.
Yes, but this is the other part about finding team players versus kingdom builders. Some people are really good at sharing their knowledge, sharing their wisdom, sharing their learnings. That means like being vulnerable and saying, hey, I've made these 5 mistakes in the past 12 months, and this is what I've learned. I'm always looking when I'm working with leaders to make safe places for leaders to grow within the organisation by finding colleagues that can coach each other. Because the wisdom that we need usually is already in the organisation. We just don't know each other well enough to be able to trust each other with our problems. So I do spend a fair bit of time with high level or with middle management on building trust.
Right, lovely. Well, I think people can find you through your website, which is Lisa Speaks.
Lisa Speaks, lisaspeaks.com.
That's nice and easy. And certainly you'd be on LinkedIn as well.
I'm on LinkedIn under Lisa McInnes-Smith. Yes. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram.
And
I'm all over the place.
You'll see her.
And you can Google
others.
Well, if they want to email me, I'm Lisa at Lisa Speaks. Yeah. And if they even want a tip sheet, on tips to flourish, happy to send them a tip sheet.
Oh, lovely. That's excellent. So we've got a little freebie there, which is nice. So in closing, what would you like to say to the audience that might be listening or viewing the video?
Well, let's think of yourself as a high performer. Start there and expect that the people that you're dealing with also are high performers or want to be, and that you go into the meeting always with the intention that I'm curious to learn about what's causing the challenge, and I'm withholding judgment until I learn more about what you think about this situation and how we might solve it together. all that language about intention, curiosity. I'm exploring. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to take notes. I'd love to know how you feel about this situation. And then I have some complaints or some challenges or some habits that I need to see changed so that you can continue to grow in this organisation.
And that sounds like how you might start a meeting, with a bit of a summary. So you're actually setting the scene. And also, you said earlier about recording it. I mean, I use my dictation app just about daily. I'll often, if I'm actually want to get some ideas down while I'm driving, I'll switch it on while I'm driving, and then I can get a transcript when I get home. But I'll be in meetings and I say, oh, do you mind if I just record this bit because it's really good?
Yes.
But do you think in a difficult conversation that might be inhibiting to the person?
Yes, I do. But it also might make it safer so that there's a record of everything we've said.
It shows that you're brave enough to stand by your integrity, that you're not going to do anything underhand. You want this to be transparent and able to be referred to again later. So I think that's a good move. And what if the person you want to performance manage says, no, I don't want you to record it?
Well, then don't record it.
That's it.
But maybe go and have the conversation out in a more public space if you think you need a bit more space. Or, as I said, or take a walk. I do think sometimes there's space to bring the temperature down before you even start. People come in, they're all anxious. They know it's about conflict. And we're trying, aren't we, to make sure that people's brain is thinking well. They're already stressed, and we really are investigating. So maybe it's, as I said, one of many conversations. So we're just going to start, and then let's agree to meet again tomorrow about this, and maybe a third meeting on the next day. Don't leave people thinking that this is a one size fits all and we've got to say it all now. We don't. We can just begin.
And body language is important. And say you do go to a coffee shop, you should avoid sitting directly opposite. It should be like one person's on one side and the other's on the other side. So it's like the L shape. Is that accurate?
Yeah, but it's the same as going for a walk, isn't it? You're a little bit more side by side than you are looking straight at one another.
That's right.
And if you're going to be straight at one another, you definitely need coffee and food in the middle.
Right. Well, look, Lisa, you've dispelled some points of ignorance that I didn't know about. It's like you've really brought to light some aspects of how to actually get under the surface and deal with like people's reactions and some turns of phrase. Your languaging is superb, Lisa. So thank you for sharing this. I really learned a lot today, so I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Nina. And I want all the listeners to remember they need to practice at home, practice with their partner, practice with their children, practice with their parents. Start getting this confidence and skills in with people that already know you, and tell them I'm practicing.
Oh, well, that's good. Excellent. Well, thanks very much. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Nina. Bye.
This episode was with Lisa McInnes-Smith, TEDx Melbourne speaker and the first Australian inducted into the International Speaker Hall of Fame. You'll find her at lisaspeaks.com. My name is Nina Sunday, and this is Manage Self Lead Others podcast. And would you agree that people need to know about a great podcast? A request, please. If you think this podcast helps to elevate team culture, do your friends and colleagues a favour. Let them know about my show. Manage Self Lead Others. Forward an episode to them. Give it a 5-star rating, please. And the best place to do it is Apple Podcast app. Link is in the show notes. And if you don't have an iPhone, borrow a friend's. Spotify and Audible and other apps also allow reviews and ratings, and you can subscribe to video versions on YouTube. Look out for my next episode on Manage Self Lead Others, and see you next time. Bye for now.
Nina Sunday is on a mission to help leaders transform culture. To book Nina Sunday CSP to speak at your conference Visit ninasunday.com to request a proposal. Nina travels from Brisbane, Australia for in-person presentations Australia-wide. Twice certified virtual presenter, Nina Sunday presents virtually, globally, for any time zone.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.